This is Carol Everson with Chief Outsiders. I'm really happy to welcome you today to our webinar. It's going to be about the rise of AI in 2026. I'm really excited about this topic because there are so many things that we've been learning and so many things that we can do that I think will be positive and have a lot of benefit for the folks on the call. We have a mix of CEOs, COOs, other C-suite, and marketers on the call, and we're really looking forward to sharing some insight and hopefully some great ideas that you can leverage going forward. The topic is AI search, and we're going to be talking about the impact it's having, the drivers that are really behind the impacts, and the steps that you can take in order to actually take control of your brand in this situation. Before we get started, I'd like to do introductions. As I mentioned, I'm Carol Everson with Chief Outsiders. I'm an area managing partner, and I have with me two really outstanding individuals who know this space well with our Team Outsiders group, and I'd like to introduce them. Maybe John Prinzo, if you could go first.
Sure. My name's John with an HN. And I've been in digital strategy about 17 years, going on 17, 18, something like that. Focus on digital marketing and SEO and now GEO.
Great. And John, and we do have two Johns.
I am Jon John. I've been in SEO and digital marketing for roughly 24 years. And I kind of do a mix of SEO, paid search, and analytics. Those are kind of my fortes.
And both John and John have been working on AI as it has been growing over the last couple of years. So I think we're really fortunate to have them here with their deep background in SEO combined with the more recent background in AI. We have a lot of ground to cover. I do want to mention you have the opportunity to submit questions. We may not have time to get to all of them, but we'll follow up and get information. You will also send out a recording. I also want to let the folks know that aren't as deeply involved in this space that there is a lot of lingo, and we're doing our best. We're going to try really hard not to make this too lingo intensive, but there are times when it's important to understand what's behind the drivers so that you can take action. So we will have a little bit of some lingo that we're covering. So let's get started, and we're going to start with just a little bit of background about some statistics that are transpiring out in the market. One of the questions is, how big of a deal is AI search? And I think these numbers begin to tell the story, just begin to tell them. First, if you look at the global users, 800 million active ChatGPT users, 22 million Perplexity users, and 18.9 million Claude active users. That's active users in a month. That's a pretty important stat. And I think the next set of stats is actually more important, which is how much of search is actually being handled by these AI engines. And I think to look at it, the first number there looks small, 4 to 6%, which is handled by, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, etc. That's not a huge number, but when you think of Google numbers, that's a big raw number. The more important stat that I think is worth looking at is the amount served via AI overview in the answer, in the search engine results page. Basically, when you go to Google and Bing, about 20 to 35%, depending on the study that you look at, of the searches are actually showing an AI overview. So when you combine AI overviews that are interspersing themselves into the results with the actual generative search engines that are taking over some of the results, you have a combined impact of between 24 and 41% of searches, which is definitely something worth paying attention to. So what does that mean for you? I think you've already expressed, we've heard from leaders, concerns about declining website traffic. There are three different stats here. It's not important that one study said 21% of traffic is lost when there are AI overviews. Another said 34.5%, very precise. And then a third had a range of 15 to 64%. What you can take from that is that the amount of impact is large. It varies by industry. It varies by B2B versus B2C. Some industries more so than others the nature of the users that you're targeting. Perhaps Gen Z might be more impacted than a boomer target audience, but you've basically got a lot of impact regardless. And that's why you're experiencing traffic declines. There aren't studies out yet that would say, and here's the, at least we haven't identified them, that would say, here's the impact to actual leads. But if you think about AI search, it's really hitting up at the top of the funnel on informational queries. When someone's asking a question about what should I do about XYZ, you get an answer via the AI search engine. If you're not showing up there and you are later hoping to get leads, if you haven't been in that AI discussion, the odds of your leads coming in at the same rate that they were before are obviously diminished. So while there's no evidence, we believe intuitively it makes sense that someone that's not showing up top of funnels unlikely to be getting, more aggressive leads and more leads bottom of funnel directly. And then finally, everyone's been telling us that what they used to do isn't working and they need new answers. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So I am going to stop sharing. That's the end of PowerPoints for us, at least as of now. And we're going to move into a discussion with our panel, which I'm really excited to get started with. So I think we'll start with probably one of the key questions that our CEOs in particular on this call are asking, which is, what are the three most critical implications of the rise of AI search that every CEO and every business leader, every C-suite leader and marketer should really understand? And John Prinzo, if I could just throw that one to you to start.
Sure. I think we already touched on one of the main things that I think we've all seen is traffic from traditional organic search is down and is projected to continue to decline with the rise of AI platforms. Companies lost a lot of their organic traffic. I mean, between John and I, we've seen companies lose as much as 80%, which is astounding. Um, Another implication, I think, is expectations about organic traffic have changed and your metrics should be reevaluated. So, organic traffic was sort of the key, a lot, especially for a lot of SEOs to understand how well you were doing. But now we kind of have to reevaluate them and look at things like conversions, which are very important, and conversions from organic versus other traffic, citations in AI overviews, brand mentions, referrals from AI search, direct traffic is gonna getting a little more strength. Brand mentions, off-site and outside of AI are other things that we're going to have to look at and should be kind of calibrated towards. And another implication of this is competition. Brands that were either positioned very well at the beginning of this or started paying attention really early adjusted their search strategy and have a head start. So that's something to think of. I mean, John and I have discussed this, how brands that had embraced SEO very early and made it part of the culture. Over the years, as SEO evolved, they became entrenched and very hard to unseat. And this presents an opportunity, I think, for companies to get in the game early, start experimenting, and start understanding these things and working with them.
Okay.
And just, I guess, to clarify one point, direct traffic, that's really going to be a way to a lot of companies are going to see direct traffic increase, and that's going to be some of the influence on the AI search engines providing, brand mentions and recommendations. So that's definitely something you're going to want to watch.
Okay. So I'm curious, like I feel there should be a difference across industries, maybe B2B versus B2C, maybe certain types of businesses, maybe geographies. What are you guys seeing in terms of where the near-term impacts have been in terms of industries, geography, other demographics, or other cuts?
Yeah, so B2B informational sites and then media sites that were originally providing a lot of top of funnel type organic results, they got hit really hard. I've seen a media company lose as much as 80% of their traffic. So those were probably the hardest hit sites. Local businesses were impacted less. The AI overviews are going to be served less on those local queries. So there was definitely less impact there. For B2C and e-commerce sites, they had some impact on things like buying guides and things like that. I think the number is about a 30% drop. So they experienced a drop, but it wasn't as dramatic. There were definitely sites like YMYL, and just for everybody out there that is in SEO, YMYL stands for Your Money or Your Life. So finance sites and sites that had to do provide health recommendations. Sites like that, people were not going to the AI overviews as much, and they wanted to get the information from human sources. That was definitely kind of one of the trends. Those type of sites weren't impacted as much by the changes in AI search.
And do you think changes are going to be evolving and changing over time?
Yeah, I definitely think they will, but I think you're going to start to see um, those trends fluctuate, but probably stay consistent over time. I think people when your money is at stake or your health is at stake, I think people are still going to want to get the information from human sources. So I don't think those things will change. I think just the nature of the way that Google is, where it wants to try to maybe monetize e-commerce or get a bigger piece of e-commerce kind of attention, you might see some fluctuation there. Like Google may try some things there.
Yeah, I think with like your money or your life, if you're, what's this thing on my neck? You're gonna trust like Cleveland Clinic over an AI overview, or what CD or what stock is best for me to invest in, or for my children, you're probably gonna want to go straight to a financial source. The AI overview might help direct you there, but I think people are still going to trust the human sources with those.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So, it's interesting. Some of these things I think we're already starting to change when you guys, and in the conversations I've had with you, I know that some of these changes were happening with SEO already. So it feels as if some of this is a little business as usual in the evolution, but then obviously, like there's so much more to it than that. But it does feel like a natural progression in some senses. Am I reading that right, or am I misinterpreting that?
Yeah, that's totally true, and that's really interesting. A lot of people wanted to go straight to SEO is dead, and you realize a lot of things that were happening in SEO have kind of fed into AI. So zero-click searches were already happening for over 10 years. And a zero-click search, if you're not familiar with it, is basically you get the answer or the information you need from the search engine results page. You don't need to click through to go to the website. So there were things like featured snippets you might recognize where you were looking for a specific piece of information or something from a recipe, and Google might pull that out, a few sentences or a paragraph, and just put it at the top of the search results page. Um, and then they added people also ask. So there are other questions that dig into that a little bit more. And that really cut into clicks coming to people's sites. So it started to happen before. Focusing on visitor intent for each page, trying to understand why the user is there or why you want them there, and answering questions, and not just matching keywords and terms to the page content, but focusing on visitor intent. Google is also favoring companies with strong brands and brand signals. Brand mentions, PR, earned media were already replacing links as an authority signal. So one of the goals with SEO was to get backlinks to your site from contextually relevant authoritative sites that are pointing to you, and that would pass authority to your site. Google's already started moving away from the blue link and simply looking at brand mentions, and that being a strong signal, and it kind of started to replace that. Um, SEO has been shifting for some times and rewarding companies with really good websites, unambiguous products and services, good user experience. Helpful content was a big focus of theirs. Content freshness, EAT, which stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust, and fast loading pages, so page performance. It was already moving that way, and AI just accelerated all that. They might have been less important for some organizations, kind of newer changes or nuances to SEO that's intrinsic to AI now.
Okay. Um, so I'm curious, all of these changes definitely have an impact on metrics. And I think a lot of people are a little bit confused about what to do with their marketing metrics now. Do you have any thoughts on both what's happening and the impact and what folks need to do?
Yeah, so definitely the metrics need to be completely reevaluated. So you definitely want to focus less on traffic and you want to focus more on conversions from organic. That's going to be something that's really important to kind of gauge whether you're getting any kind of impact from the SEO that you do have and the SEO traffic you do have.
John,
User journey.
can you explain that a little bit more? Like, why would conversion go up with organic traffic because of GEO? Which, oh, by the way, before we go any further, for the folks on the call that aren't in the weeds on this stuff, AIO is AI overviews. That's those summaries that you get at the top of Google. SEO is search engine optimization. That's what's been happening traditionally to drive more organic traffic to websites. AEO is AI engine overview or optimization, and I'm missing. Oh,
Geo,
generative
Yeah.
engine
generative.
optimization. So
Yeah, I
SEO,
think that's the biggest
GEO,
impact of AI on businesses is the addition of more acronyms. So
it's painful.
that's something you really want to get a hold of.
So
Alphabet soup.
yeah, I apologize for throwing one of those out, but I think it's
I even
important.
saw LLMO
Oh,
recently.
okay. A large language model optimization.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, okay. So I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great question. So
yeah.
we definitely saw the top of the funnel type traffic decrease dramatically. Bottom of the funnel traffic for traditional organic rankings is still happening. So the further somebody gets down the user journey funnel, the more likely they are to click on traditional organic links. And so that's why you're going to see conversions come from those bottom of the funnel type searches. And that's where traditional SEO is still valuable. I mean, there's been a lot of talk that SEO is dead. It's not dead, it's just changed. So the way that you need to measure it needs to change as well. Something to just take into consideration. User journeys are longer. They're going to be messier. It's going to be harder to track. So you're going to definitely want to look at a multi-touch attribution solution. I think a lot of us relied really heavily since almost the beginning that I've been doing digital marketing on Google Analytics. It was a great free solution, but you're going to want to supplement the GA4 data with a multi-touch attribution solution. You want to look at better or top of funnel metrics. So, what's a top of funnel metric? Um, Citations. So when Google serves an AI overview, it takes the data and the information from actual web sources to create that AI overview. And so when they take the information from a site, they'll oftentimes provide a citation. So tracking those citations is going to be important, and actually those citations are still an opportunity to get traffic. So people will click on those. And there's even like citation optimization. So having a great graphic or something like that associated with the citation is something that can really improve the click-through rate on it. Rand mentions are really the metric that you want to really focus on within the AI search engines. That's an AI search engine like ChatGPT, specifically referencing your brand name. And so those are going to be really valuable. So you want to be
Hey,
able to
hey,
track.
John, real quick
Yes.
before you go there, I just want to throw in one more thing. I know you've used top of funnel, bottom of funnel. I have too. Again, for those people that aren't like marketing steeped, all we're talking about is in a buying journey when a buyer is making a decision. The top of the funnel is they're exploring, they don't know what they want, they're trying to understand, and you work your way down. And different funnels have different stages, but basically you get down to the point of purchase. So when you hear top of funnel, bottom funnel, top is they're thinking about it, or maybe not even thinking about it. Maybe they're just getting information that spurs an idea. When you get to the bottom, that's when it's okay. It's go time. It's time to make a purchase decision. So sorry to interrupt, but I realized that was another one of our marketing lingo things that we need to make sure we're covering for everybody.
No, thanks. Yeah, so sometimes John and I just will get carried away on the
Had to
lingo.
talk him out of saying tofu and bofu.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, going back to the brand mentions, those are really something that you need to focus on now. So brand mentions from branded prompts, so somebody specifically asking about your brand in ChatGPT, those are great, but non-branded prompts are really where you're going to get a lot of impact to introduce your company's products or services when they maybe don't know about your brand. So those non-brand or the brand mentions for non-branded questions, that's really where the what you want to focus on in your new AIO strategy. One thing that's also important is brand sentiment. So if people are mentioning your brand, but the sentiment around your products and services and your company isn't good, that can really work against you. So you want to make sure and you want to be able to monitor whether the things that people are saying about your company or its products are positive. And so you want to have definitely have your finger on the pulse of that as well.
And if I could
Um,
ask a question about that, the negative, maybe John Prinzo, if you could help with this one, the negative mentions, where might they be coming from?
Oh, just about anywhere. I mean, you're going to see them on Google reviews, Reddit, um, um, even Amazon and the product reviews, things like that. So it's all over the place. And then social media, of course. And
Yep.
that's another thing when you're monitoring brand is to monitor social media and those social media monitoring tools for brand sentiment and things like that um, were really hot when social media took off, and it kind of became something in the background. Some people used, some people didn't. I think now they're kind of going to make a resurgence with this focus on brand.
Yep. I had a competitor of one of my clients that actually put out a page, like for every competitor, they had a head-to-head comparison that wasn't exactly accurate, but they had the head-to-head comparison. And I imagine in that scenario, that gets scooped up into the engines too. Is that right, John, Aaron?
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
actually a good piece of content to add to the site.
So is there anything else from a metrics and analytics and search perspective that John, Aaron, I think you were in the middle when I jumped in. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, so and it just kind of comes back to something John answered in the first question. Direct traffic, you need to be able to look at that. That should go up if you're getting the brand mentions in the AI search engines.
Okay.
And
Anything else, or go
and
ahead.
the I would say traditional engagement metrics too matter because if when they finally do get to your site, they're loaded with intent. So what are they doing? How long are they on the site? Scroll depth, pages per visit, definitely your conversions, things like that. And when we were talking about bottom of funnel, yes, a lot of it's getting the top of funnel is getting siphoned off, but when they're really ready to pull the trigger on something, they're going to click a link. And I saw a stat I put down 80% of those final answer clicks when you're ready to go to the organic results.
Wow. Okay. So good to know. So I guess the dashboards are going to change dramatically, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, you're going to want to completely resync your dashboards and start tracking, put in a tracking solution where you can look at brand mentions and citations. It's really important to track those. And then, the thing to remember though is you don't want to completely disregard your traditional organic rankings because those bottom of the funnel searches, you still want to show well there, and those are going to drive conversions.
Okay. So now we get to geek out a little bit. Not too much. So, what are the top five changes from a technical optimization standpoint that will help a company rank well in AI search?
So I think for a lot of companies, when we talked about SEO is dead and maybe people putting less priority on some of the bigger pieces, technical SEO is sort of a periodic check-in where maybe you do an annual audit or a biannual audit or something like that. Now with AI, the rise of AI and the way the bots are skimming the content and visiting your site, it's sort of now a 24/7 monitoring requirement. So it's kind of come in, technical SEO is kind of back in fashion for those that might have ignored it a little bit. And I'd say top five things to be aware of is no JavaScript. Some people have been moving to JavaScript frameworks for their site because they're supposed to be faster. The AI bots cannot render it. They cannot read it. Fast page loads are mandatory now, and they're not even an option. So that was something that was Google was moving towards anyway. Now, the faster the better. It helps you rank organically. It's going to help you rank with or get noticed by the AI bots. Schema was another thing. So schema markup is sort of just some code in the background of a page that gives more context to the page. And there's schema for specific kinds of pages, products, articles, about us, and it kind of helps add more contextual relevance to what's happening on the page. Anything you can do to feed an LLM information about your brand as an entity, what you do, how you do it, what your products are, the cost, everything like that, the better. So schema is even more important now with AI. There's experimental protocols like LLMs.txt. You know, you have a robots.txt file that's sort of a directive for search engines. LLMs.txt sort of does the same thing and kind of parses out the content and the text for LLMs. Things like index now, which kind of send a message to say, hey, this is new, come back and look at it, read it now, index it now, works for search engines. It's showing some signs of importance with LLMs. And you'll need tools, analytics, or at least tools that you can use to look at your log files, your server log files, which will tell you which AI bots are visiting, when they're visiting, and what pages they're looking at, and that's important to know. If your site's getting fully crawled by them, or that might tell you that there's pages that are very important that aren't getting seen, and you might want to figure out ways for them to get seen. So I think those, when we're talking about technical SEO as it relates to AI search, I think those probably are the most important.
Okay, I promise you could geek out a little bit there. Um,
Thanks.
so what are the top 3 to 4 things that have to be done on your site to rank well in AI search?
So uh,
Beyond
using a
technical.
using a question and answer format is going to be really important. Just because the AI search engines interface with people through questions and answers, so you're naturally creating a content format that's going to do well in AI search. Another thing to focus on is writing really short and focused paragraphs, one topic per paragraph. That makes it easier for the AI engines to kind of find the answer and then lift the answer. TLDR summaries are going to be really important. That's actually one of the best tactics you can use. So putting the answer that you're providing, you know, the main summary right at the beginning of the article or the page.
Yeah, you'll
But
see
conclude.
like articles that might say key takeaways or what you need to know, and they just summarize or bullet point things at the top and then go into the article.
At the same time, so having a conclusion section that summarizes everything at the bottom can be a really good tactic too. And then just freshness. So content freshness is probably one of the best tactics for getting inclusion in answers and things like that. Just kind of throwing out some stats. So content that was updated within the same quarter is 3x more likely to rank than content that wasn't updated. Google's the cited pages that ChatGPT uses increased by 70% if the content was updated in the last couple of months. So that's definitely going to be a tactic for getting included, is making sure that you're updating your old content, or if you have something good, just hitting it every quarter or having some kind of cadence where you're adding some new information and making sure the content is fresh. That's going to be a great way to get included.
Okay. What about off the page? What happens in the marketing mix outside of the website? What do you guys think is important there?
Well, I think something to understand now is your brand search footprint is now the sum of every place people ask questions. So offsite is become very important. Brand mentions, like we mentioned, like we talked about, particularly positive brand mentions, um, are good for powering your business and AI search. Negative brand mentions are really bad, or can affect your competitiveness. Monitoring your brand and brand mentions is important. I think everyone's going to need a brand strategy moving forward to kind of wrangle all this and get it together and have sort of a cohesive front moving forward. PR and earned media strategy, I think, is very important in order to kind of broker some of these placements of your brand and things like that. Companies need to understand where the conversations about them are happening sort of off-site. You need to understand your audience and where they talk about you, whether it's social media. The communities are gigantic now. Reddit, if you're, or Quora, if you're more in a like a tech space, like a Stack Overflow or a Stack Exchange, something like that, where people are having these conversations. And I've seen how AI engines source content, and Perplexity and Google put a lot of weight on Reddit and Quora and things like that because people talking about you or your products is a more authentic sort of feel, and it's kind of what other people are looking for. Um, those communities are really like one of the most legitimate ways for AI search engines to get unskewed real world insights. Um, and businesses need to be a part of those conversations. So, and there's kind of a protocol to that. You don't want to just jump in and be really salesy, but figuring out a way to comfortably get into these places, see how you're being mentioned, and then kind of join the conversation, I think is huge.
And do
And
those
then
sites vary by industry? So, for example, I work a lot in SaaS and G2 and Capterra and software advice and sites like that are important in that industry. So,
Yes.
is it the case that by industry you'll have different sites that really have more weight than others?
Some I think is I know that Reddit no matter Reddit covers everything. I mean, there's a thread about everything, and Reddit is sourced very heavily. I think when you do get into like SaaS products and some technical products, something like a Stack Overflow and Stack Exchange will move up, G2, things like that. Um, it's just more important to kind of identify where your audience is having these conversations and jumping in.
Okay. John, were you going to add something to that?
no, I think John covered it. I think it's just going to vary by niche, where the influencers or where people are having those conversations. It's just going to change based on what you're doing and what you're selling.
Okay. Thanks. So we've talked a lot about organic, but we haven't talked about paid search. What do you think the impact is of everything that's happening with GEO and with AI search as it relates to paid search?
Yeah, so it's definitely there's going to be just because of the layout of the SERPs. There's definitely less.
SERP is
That's a search result page.
that's
Search
right.
engine
Um,
result page.
yeah, so there's going to be fewer impressions and there are going to be fewer clicks. So everybody that runs paid search is fighting for less impressions. So there are going to be fewer clicks. What that translates from in an execution way is you got to focus on CRO. Like your conversion rate optimization has to be in place. So that if you get fewer clicks, you're going to have to capitalize and convert more clicks with less traffic. So that's really important to focus on the CRO. At the same time, like Google has changed and altered how ads look within search result pages. So they're making it, I guess, more ambiguous whether you're clicking on an organic result or a paid result. And so that kind of works back in our favor, but it can also cause things like bounce rate to go up if you land on maybe a non-relevant or a really salesy page versus an informational page. So that's definitely something to think about.
Okay. So I know that one of the steps that people should take is to really get their arms around what's happening for their brand. And I know we happen to have an assessment coming out like in the next day or two. So can you guys talk a little bit about that just so folks on the call understand what it is that is coming out?
Yeah, I mean, in general, we wanted to create kind of the most comprehensive audit possible, given all the current data, our experience, what we're seeing, what tools are available. And our geo audit basically contains the technical website aspects that impact AI search. So, like we talked about, how a lot of the technical SEO has kind of been foundational for AI search. So, making sure your site's crawlable and understanding the page speed and things like that, and making sure those are on point as foundational for AI search. Doing an audit of that, understanding what bots are visiting which pages, content readiness and page structure, looking at your brand and brand sentiment, branded and non-branded visibility in AI search versus your competitors, and kind of analyzing all that and being able to deliver a roadmap to help companies fix and improve all these key components. So first, it's sort of analysis to get you to understand where your strengths and weaknesses are and how you're kind of performing in AI search, and then a roadmap that can address where the opportunities are.
Right. And I would assume that should add some level of confidence to someone who's just not quite sure what to do next. Um, so I have two more questions. One is, what do you see happening in the world of AI search over the next 6 to 12 months? And then I'll ask the final. So any thoughts on what you guys see happening in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I think you're going to see more paid search injected into the answer engines. And so that's going to have a big impact. It's going to create opportunities. How they structure that paid search, whether it's kind of really in your face, like the traditional advertising, or whether it's injected into the actual conversations in a more, I guess, natural way, that's going to be something that could really revolutionize advertising.
Yeah, and on the back of that, one of the things that would be important, because there's rumblings of ChatGPT starting to integrate ads and things like that. If they do integrate ads, one of the things that should be coming out of that would be clearer data or insights on the prompts that are actually being used. So you can bid and strategize your paid advertising around that. It's sort of a closed box right now as far as what exactly the prompts are people are asking and what's bringing up your brand. So with a lot of the tools that we're using, you just have to sort of use keyword research, common sense, um, and testing to kind of find a set of prompts that align with your business and people searching for them to get some data and insight on that. So interestingly, if they move to a paid model, we there might be some opening of the curtain to kind of see
That'd be
what the
helpful. Yeah.
actual prompt data is.
Okay, great. Anything else, or is that's enough for
Well,
now?
I think AI mode, Google has AI mode, which they're not pushing yet, but it's growing in market share, and people are using Google's AI conversation function more and more. So I think you're going to start to see those guys get a little bit of market share back from ChatGPT. And then I think they're probably there's a chance they may push it among certain demographics and things like that, and even force certain types of searches to go into AI mode.
Oh, interesting.
And right now, it's sort of, you hear it's sort of reminiscent of the dot-com bubble, right? Everybody's doing AI, like everybody was doing something on the internet. And there's a flood of tools, there's a flood of different LLM platforms. And I think it'll probably come to a head in the next year or two. And the strongest ones are going to survive. A lot of the tools will be pushed aside. I think John had mentioned something about, the venture capital kind of running out in March of next year, and there will be clear winners and losers who are able to monetize and have the tools that were the most useful to use for monitoring AI and AI search and all the things that we've kind of been talking about and looking at. And then same with the platforms too. That they're incredibly expensive to run. So there will probably be a drop off and some clear winners that come out of all that.
Okay. That sounds it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So One of the last question. And if you were a CEO or if you were a business leader and you were like you're in a small mid-market and you're trying to figure out what to do next, what would be the top three things that you might prioritize when it comes to AI search?
I'd say um, one of the important things to understand is risk, right? Understand the risk that's inherent in experimenting in any new technology. There's risk involved in trying new strategies and tactics, as well as risk involved with not doing anything. So if you're on the fence with this, I think, as we talked earlier, the early adopters, the people that start getting familiar with the new landscape, are probably going to be the winners as the dust starts to settle. Recalibrate expectations and metrics is going to be something that I think is important for leaders to understand. And getting a geo assessment, right? Understanding where you are on the playing field, what are your site's strengths, weaknesses, and kind of developing a roadmap for what you can do to make your website and your online products more AI accessible.
Okay. So we have a few questions that I want to just throw out. The first is, could you please restate what GEO is, as it wasn't very audible?
That's
Um, oh, go
generative.
ahead, John.
Yeah, it's generative engine optimization. So, generative engine optimization applies to both ChatGPT and Google AI overviews, and that's optimizing to rank in both those types of scenarios.
Yeah, I think it gets like detailed in that AI AEO, answer engine optimization, may be something more like Google AI overviews or Perplexity, where you're strictly answering a question. I mean, asking a question and it's putting together a quick answer and some citations. And I think the best demonstration of the two would be a Google search versus Gemini. So an AI overview is sort of an answer engine. It's generating an answer for you, where an AI overview is looking at a lot more sources and then synthesizing a longer, more generated sort of answer, and something you would also get with your sort of agents you're building inside some of these tools. It's basically taking a lot of different information and synthesizing sort of a Cliff Notes or a longer version than just a simple answer.
Thank you. Next question was, what do you mean by multiple channel attribution?
So I think it's multi-touch attribution. So in a long user journey, somebody may come to the site the first time through a paid ad. And then they might be served a display ad from a remarketing campaign. And then they might come back after learning about the company to read a blog. So maybe they come back through SEO. And then eventually they decide to purchase the product. So what channel gets the credit? There was three or four channels that contributed to the overall sale and the purchase. And so it's getting kind of messier and more difficult to understand because user journeys are more complex than they ever have been, especially in B2B where a user journey might take, 6 to 8 weeks and people might come back to the site 10 times. So you want to be able to kind of assess all the different channels and maybe blog articles and all the different pieces that contributed to the overall sale over a longer user journey.
And
And
there are lots of models. I've worked with some of these models, like some are first touch, some are last touch, multi-touch. There are even different flavors, putting more weight at the beginning, putting more weight at the end, spreading it out
yeah,
evenly across all the touches. So, every company has like the right solution for them based on what their challenges are.
and some interesting stats with that. A buying journey can take anywhere from 2 days to 10 weeks with up to 97 interactions along the way. And the average customer now uses 3.6 platforms before making a purchase. And that's just average, not B2B is probably more.
Yeah, thank you. Next question. With all the tools flooding the market, how do you create the best toolkit for your company?
That's a great question.
That's really,
So yeah,
we've been trying
Based
to
on
do
your exercise that you guys
that.
did.
I think so. We went through a lot of that in kind of we looked at a lot of tools to kind of just kick the tires on what we wanted to use for our assessment. And so I think that the thing is that right now there's a lot of tools. Most of the tools that are out there, they just do tracking. So they're designed to track AI overview, citations. They're designed to track brand mentions. So a lot of the tools essentially do the same thing. There's a lot of venture capital money out there, like funding all these new tools. And then there's some tools that really, I think, are a cut above. So they're offering functionality that helps you actually execute. That some of the tools give you better recommendations than others. Some of the tools are better at kind of gauging things like brand sentiment. So there's going to be essentially some winners and losers that emerge over the next really 6 months. When all these tools were kind of came out, they came out with VC money, and so one of the things that's kind of coming up in 2026 is a lot of that VC money is projected to kind of run out in I think March of 2026. So you're going to see some of these tools just immediately die off. And but there's going to be some winners, and I think the tools that we've kind of selected for the assessment are going to probably end up being some of the winners because they're better tools.
And maybe at some point we can add in like that list of tools into something that we send out. So we'll try and pull that together because I know it's multiple tools, it's not one. Two
Yeah,
more
and probably
questions.
looking at your industry, your team, understanding what your goals are as a company, make sure that the key touch points that we touched on, like brand mentions, citations, analytics, or a way to kind of understand what bots are coming to your site, looking at what platforms offer all that or what mix does it with your budget, and having the right people to execute it.
Okay.
Right. There are also content tools like
Yeah, yeah.
um, that they're content tool. There are a lot of content tools. So the tools that actually help you create better AI friendly content, those are going to be important too. And often those are much different than the tracking tools.
So can I put you guys on the hook to come up with a list that we can include and maybe send out as a follow-up for anyone that's interested?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just send me an email, ceversen@chiefalsharris.com, and I'll send you guys a list.
We
Um,
just we need to put the affiliate links in place so we can get some earn some money off that.
please. Like, okay, two more quick questions, then I think we'll be out of time. Well, maybe not so quick. The first is, where should paid search rank in your general marketing approach if you consider AI brand mentions?
Do you want to
Where
feel
should it
that one?
rank as far as John, you
Importance.
might have that.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
It was, where should paid search rank in your general marketing approach if you consider AI brand mentions?
Um, so I think I mean one channel is going to be pretty much like a lot different than brand mention. So like paid search generally good for top of the funnel type marketing, right? Brand mentions really going to be done through content and kind of your just overall company sentiment that you kind of earn over time. So it's a collection of your website and all the signals that you're sending there and what you have about your products and services, and then things like reviews and what people are saying about your products and services in places like Reddit or maybe your Google My Business profile. And so it's two different things. It's paid search is great for those top of the funnel type searches that kind of get your brand recognized. I don't think it really has anything to do with brand mentions. I think you got to have to earn that through content strategy, organic, and then PR and earned media.
And I think paid search is kind of can do the trick that it did with SEO. You're not ranking well. It takes time to rank well. Paid search can be a stopgap measure to kind of get your brand and your things up higher as you're working on other things to raise your rankings on certain pages or services or products. So it could be sort of a stopgap type of strategy where you're doing that to kind of stay in the conversation as you get your organic stuff kind of up to speed. And then we talked about Reddit. Reddit can be a great place to run ads. You might pivot what platform you're running your paid search on.
Okay, thanks. Last question, and then for any that we haven't gotten to, I'll try and reach out with responses. But in the simplest terms, is it safe to say that SEO strength and a solid foundation in your SEO efforts are even more important now than before, since those actions seem to directly correlate to showing up in the content within AI and chat?
Without a
I
doubt,
think,
yeah. I think
yeah, that's totally true.
that's totally true. It's all the you can't if you start executing with some of the newer, more nuanced AI strategy type things with the content execution and all that kind of stuff. And brand mentions, it's not going to work if you don't have some of the foundational things like the page speed, the crawlability, and to have those in place, which are going to help you rank in both places. And that foundational is just going to optimize or amplify the AI strategies you put on top of
Okay.
And that's why SEO isn't dead. It lives on.
it. Have that conversation like every 10 years.
All right. Well, thank you both very much. I appreciate it sincerely. And hopefully, everyone on the call has learned something and maybe has a next step to take as a result. Do reach out if you need anything from us. We'll be sending some follow-up materials to everyone. And thanks again for your time. Have a good one.
Thank you.